So I'm finally back. I know, right? You missed me. But yeah, I'm finally back. I was away at like Lake George for like the past couple of like days. I mean, I got back, but like I don't know, like my room was a mess, and like I was going through like a whole bunch of like other stuff behind the scenes, so I couldn't really like talk about anything. So yeah, I kind of just wanted to talk about like, I guess, bad company. So I'm not gonna assume. So this is the thing: good people can ruin like good company. Wait, no. Bad people can ruin good company. So let's say this: you're the average of the 5 people you hang out with. So I mean, if you're only hanging out with like killers or like fucking gangsters, you can't really blame yourself for like eventually just becoming this like fucking street thug that's like walking around with machetes and shit. It's just like what you've seen. And I mean, even though I say you can't really blame you, the only person that can actually control who you're around and like who you're with is only you. I mean, maybe sometimes you're in a situation where you can't really change like the scenery, but it's definitely your choice if you want to be friends with the person or you want to talk to the person. So I feel like mainly like the main reason why you see people like going around doing like stupid shit is because they hang out with people that do stupid shit. And you know, maybe they weren't this person that did like stupid shit before, and they just like randomly like consumed shit, so they became shit. And I mean, like, it's, in some degree, yeah, you might think it's like harmless, but like, you know, some others, like, you know, it can be like extreme, bro. Like, it can be like some crazy shit, bro. Like, where like you're hanging out with like the mafia or some shit, or like, well, what's that one like Hispanic gang that's in like Mexico, or I think cartel, yeah. Like I mean, like, it seems like harmless, bro. Like, you're like when you're kind of like just like in the middle of it, you're like, oh yeah, I mean like my friends are doing it, so you know, I might as well just do it too. And like, you just get influenced by everybody. And I mean, you could say that like, no, you're the kind of one person that wouldn't do it, but if you hang out with like people that like consistently like smoke or like fucking drink or something, I mean, the odds are that you're gonna eventually like, you know, try to be just like them so that you can kind of fit in with them. And I mean, maybe that's not a good thing, or maybe it's a bad thing. I mean, if that's what you want to be to fit the like social standing, it just shows that you're kind of like a shallow person now that only really like lives to like, you know, make people think that you're cool, or like you're this person or you're that. But I mean like I feel like it's way cooler to just like stand out and be like, I mean like, maybe not like the fucking weirdo that like lives under a bridge or some shit and like only eats like grubs and worms, but like, I mean like, just not be the kind of person that gets influenced by like negativity. I mean like, if you see that your friends are like fucking degenerates, like, I mean, like maybe being a degenerate, maybe, oh fuck's sake, bro, but maybe being like a degenerate isn't like the worst thing in the world, bro, but it's obviously not like the best. And maybe like hitting fucking clubs and doing this like 3-man shit and like fish in the sea, like maybe that's not like the best way to go about things, but you know, your friends are doing it, and like, you know, you're kind of like, yeah, I mean, they're my day one, so like, you gotta, I mean like, it just shows that like how like easy of a person you are to influence. I, for one, definitely almost fell into this category of like this kind of person. I mean like, even though like back then I always thought I had like my shit together, but hold on, I got the sniffles. But anyways, like back then, bro, I always thought that like, I had my shit together and I could like be this like rock stoic person that could never be influenced by anything. But there was one day I was hanging out with some friends in the car, and you know, we're driving around, and they're like, oh bro, you gotta smoke, bro, like I'm so surprised that you've never smoked before, like, oh, you gotta drink with us, dude, at some point you gotta drink. And I mean like, even though like I was this kind of person that said no, I would never do this, but like I was kind of starting to get like influenced by them. I mean like, even though I never did it, I never picked up the fucking blunt and started like fucking making quotes and shit while I was like blazing up, like I never did some like bullshit like that, bro, but like it was to the point where I was like heavily considering it, and I was willing to actually do it had there been like the opportunity to. But I mean, thankfully, you know, I eventually decided to, you know, break away from those people. I mean, not to say that they're bad people, not just because somebody does something bad doesn't mean that they're a bad person. It's just that it will eventually, you know, influence you. And you know, you could say that, you know, it wouldn't, but honestly it will eventually. I mean, if you constantly hear the same thing over and over, and you see that like, you know, it doesn't really affect anybody negatively. Like if you hang out with like, let's say, hang out with people that are like, you know, not really in like relationships and stuff, and like constantly like cheating on the girls, or like, you know, they have like a huge like fucking roster or some shit, you know, you're gonna kind of like eventually want to be like them, you know, even though, you know, fundamentally you're like in the moment like you're not like, nah bro, I wouldn't want to be like this nigga, like this nigga's always sleeping on somebody's couch, like he's so weird, like, but like over time you're gonna like see like the pros and the cons, and you're gonna be like, he's gonna try and be like influence you sometimes, he's gonna be like, bro, your girl's not even like on the phone with you right now. Like, you're good. You could just be chilling, bro. Like, just come over here. I mean, we could do this like 2 man real quick. Like, it's something that will eventually creep up on you. Yeah, maybe sometimes it's subtle. Maybe it's like a random mood change whenever like you're certain someone does something or like whatever this. Or maybe it's like you get a random itch to do it because like, you know, you've just been around it, or maybe just not even necessarily do it, but just be around people that do it because, you know, kind of get like, you know, like the benefits of like hanging out with people like that. And I mean, we all know what's gonna eventually happen, bro. I mean, unless you're like fucking Jesus or some shit that can like resist temptation like 100% of the time, we all know that eventually you're gonna like cave in. That's what peer pressure is. And, you know, it's not really anybody's fault other than yours. I mean, you chose like the countless times to like do this. I mean, like, you actively chose to be with this person that does this thing that you hate, but you just decided to be with them anyways because what? Like, you're too scared to meet some other people. I mean, like, that's like the main reason why like I struggle with like relationships, bro. Cause like, bro, a lot of people be doing shit that I don't like, bro. Like, I really can't be friends with people, bro, that like, you know, will eventually influence me into being like the kind of person that I don't want to be. And I mean, like, I know that you have that problem too, but like, it's just at some point, bro, there's gonna be like multiple, like thousands of opportunities, bro, where like you want to talk to somebody, bro, but they do something and you're gonna have to eventually just like, you know, do the fucking walk of shame, you know, walk away, even though like they were probably like the 10 out of the 10 person that you could definitely like call like your best friend or some shit, or like your girl, like, or whatever, bro. But like, they have this one thing that they do like consistently. I mean, if it wasn't as consistent, you know, fair enough, but like, they'd have this one thing that they do consistently. Maybe they're like a fucking alcoholic, or maybe they're like this like fucking passive drinker or some shit like that, or a passive smoker, or like maybe it's like something like that, bro. And, you know, there's gonna be like occasions where they're gonna try and like get you to do it, and, you know, they're gonna try and eventually like, you know, guilt trip you into do it. I had this dream where like, you know, I'm not gonna say who, but, you know, let's just say that I'm in the scenario. So it's like my friend's birthday and they're fucking dying or some shit, and then they're like taking shots, and they're like, you know, I would really appreciate it if you could take some shots, and they're like, I'm like, no, why would I take? But yeah, it's like no, why would I take shots? And then like you know, eventually, you know, they're like, yeah, but it's like my birthday, you know, we haven't drank in forever. I mean, we never really drank before. And then, you know, eventually you start to cave in, and you start to be this person that like, you know, maybe he does like, you know, every once in a while when he's hanging out with their friends, and then it eventually branches off to just like you doing it by yourself, and then you just like fucking can't live without it. And like every time like you feel like the itch, you just grab it and start chugging it out. Like it's subtle, but then it eventually grows into something that's like bigger. And you know, so well, like, yeah, bro. I mean, like, there's not really much to say. I mean, maybe, I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like, while I was recording this, the fucking thing just crashed, and like now I just like lost my train of thought, bro. So I'm just gonna probably like, end it right here, bro. But I mean, like, I was only talking about the bad thing, but I mean, the opposite is definitely true. I mean, like, there's definitely people that you'll hang around with, bro, that are like fucking gods or saints or some shit, bro. Like, there'll be people that'll like, you know, normally, right? Like, if you see some like weird shit going down like outside, like, you'll like naturally just like decide to just like, you know, like ignore it or pretend like you don't see it. And like, there'll be like that one fucking random ass superhero nigga, bro, that just like, you know, goes across the street and tries to like confront the danger or some shit, and you're like, what the fuck? I mean, like, it's stuff like that like you would never think of that like somebody else would do. And then randomly, like 2 weeks later, you see a fucking public shooting going down, and like the shooter goes to reload his magazine, and you just fucking tackle him, and you're a hero. And like, I mean, like, it's mainly because, bro, like, you're seeing shit like that happen, like, with people that you hang out with, bro. And then you're like, yeah, I mean, I could do that too. If this person can do it, like, why can't I do it? And like, they kind of like try to like, you know, push you to do better. Like, you're hanging out with a fucking billionaire, right? He's not gonna like mainly talk shit about you for being broke. He's gonna eventually, you know, cave in and try to help you get to like his status or some shit, bro. I mean, like, yeah. I mean, I mainly only felt like talking about the bad thing. So like, I mean, the good thing is like, obviously, like, yeah, good things are good. There's not really much to talk about with that thing. Bro, I gotta get a new PC. I'm not gonna lie. This shit pisses me off sometimes.